People who slept with their best friend, what happened? We got married and then divorced like 10 months later. I caught feelings, she didn't. We dropped the benefits part after a year and worked it out. Then I met my wife-to-be and it became irrelevant. We ended up laughing about it, but now there's a lot more awkwardness during movie nights. A friend's story. At first, they were sleeping together because the sexual tension was getting too much, but he couldn't commit because he had greater priorities to take care of. Then, when he realized he was at risk of losing her forever, he took the plunge and asked her if she wanted to be with him, and she teased him, wondering why it took him so long. She actually helped him get through a lot of things and turned out to be the support he needed all along. They're happily married now, like a movie actually, Halloween Party. I always had feelings for her. Spin the bottle, get in the closet, make out, figuring out they're my best friend, have a fun night, pretend nothing ever happened, couldn't, started dating, fast forward 5 years, married, and a newborn. Didn't sleep with him, but would give him regular blowjobs. Nothing changed. He was still a brilliant friend, and we still talk to this day, even though he's married. The blowjobs stopped, though, obviously. Guy 1 in life. She's sleeping in the other room, snoring like a chainsaw, wearing her 110-year-old wedding ring. Christ, that old broad could wake the dead, I swear to God. She told me I had to move out of the flat, and she never spoke to me again. Best friends for years, and did everything together. One stupid night of drinking way too much destroyed that friendship real quick. I'm kind of a serial best friend fucker. Hooked up with my childhood best friend right before we graduated high school. Massive mistake. Ruined the friendship. We never really got past it. Hooked up with my college best friend. No harm, no foul. A drunken night of debauchery that we laughed about for years after. Friendship only dwindled when we moved 12 hours from each other. Hooked up with one of my other best friends after college. We've been married for 6 years and together for 10. Truly the absolute love of my life. It felt right immediately. She loved the sex, said it was the best she's ever had, and then pretended to love me until she ghosted me, maybe 6 months later. I miss my friend before everything happened. She was great. Though I guess I didn't truly know her, only the mask she wore. Slept with my best friend during COVID lockdowns. It then became a regular occurrence until we both started to catch feelings, and it became a bit toxic. He eventually got a girlfriend, and we stopped speaking for a few months after. But now we're back to being best friends, and I consider his girlfriend one of my best friends as well. I'm thankful every day that it didn't ruin our friendship. I'm a guy, and one of my best friends back in middle and high school was a girl, let's call her Audrey. We both played basketball and had a fun, competitive friendship involving lots of one-on-one matches, horse, etc. She lived a short bike ride away, so we played ball a lot. We'd eat at each other's houses, were friendly with each other's parents, would hang out and watch movies, etc. We each dated other people, and it was cool. There was always an undercurrent of attraction, which we were surprisingly mature about, looking back. In 8th grade, we made a pact that we'd see each other as brother and sister. And that was that. We stuck to it, dated other people. It was cool. She even dated one of my other best friends, and it didn't impact our friendship. Everyone was cool. Toward the end of senior year, I broke up with my longtime girlfriend and was a bit of a wreck. Audrey invited me over to play ball. It was a very hot spring day, and after playing a bit, we went inside to cool off. Her parents weren't home, and I noticed that she was acting a little bit differently toward me. Up in my face with a lot of playful trash talk, always physically close. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie, which was something we always did in her bedroom so her parents could have some peace in the living room. I said fine, and she already had a movie picked out, one which I'd never heard of, Wild Things. I went into that movie completely clueless about it, and yeah, it's Wild Things. She obviously picked that movie for a reason. Right after the first sex scene, she leaned over and kissed me, and then before I even fully processed what was going on, she was giving me head. She wanted me to finish that way, so I did. Quite quickly. She seemed happy with that, and we cuddled like lovers for the rest of the movie. Predictably, things got a little weird after that. As maturely as we'd handled things before, now neither of us knew what to do, especially since we were going to be going to college in different states. I knew that I didn't want to have a long-distance girlfriend, despite my feelings for Audrey, and I think she felt that way too. We never hooked up again and didn't hang out much after that. We stayed in touch for a few years, and that was that. We slept together for about 10 months while also sleeping with other people. We'd talk about the others we slept with and knew what each other was up to. We had lots of strong feelings for each other, but it was a whole complex situation, so we avoided dating. Then I blew him off for another guy, and he realized that it made him too upset to just remain friends, and all the complications would have to deal with it. We've now been together 12 years and married for 7 years. We have 2 awesome children. He helped me get through nursing school, nurse practitioner school, and was there for everything. We still consider each other our best friend and have a very happy marriage. We started dating, and I thought things were going great. At the time, we lived about 2 hours apart in different cities. And since it was the early 90s, all we had was snail mail and phone calls during the week. But on the weekends, we'd get together. Then one weekend, she came to my house. We hung out together and had a nice time. And when she left, that was the last time I ever heard from her. I tried calling her house, and after about 2 weeks of calling her roommate, answered the phone and told me she moved back to Wyoming, where she was originally from, to live with her mom. That was it. Like I said, I never heard a word from her ever again. Several years later, I bumped into a mutual friend who told me she ended up married to some Arab dude, and she became a tradition Muslim wife. This made almost no sense to me because that chick was a hardcore punk girl when we were friends and was the proto-riot girl. Considering that her friend was a complete flake, I think she might have been pulling my chain, but weirder things have happened. But yeah, I got ghosted big time before we used that word to describe that. Over the years, I tried looking her up a few times online just to find out whether or not she's still alive, but her name is just common enough that I can't find anything. And she might not have any sort of social media presence under her birth name, especially if she really did become some traditional Muslim wife for some Arab dude. It kind of ruined everything. Tiba, I always had a thing for him, but he wasn't aware about it since I know how to bury stuff deep down, lol. Anyway, we had a few drinks one evening, and then one thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together. Imagine the shock when we woke up next to each other the following morning, haha. We tried laughing it off, but the awkwardness kind of stayed. The friendship seemed forced after that, and we lost contact. But the thing is, I never really forgot about him. Never deleted his phone number, too. It's not that I thought about him all the time or stalked his socials, but he just seemed to occupy a certain space in my heart that I'd suddenly reopen once every 3 years, lol, and meddle with the what-ifs. He was, after all, the first guy I had a crush on, and the only guy I ever truly liked. So anyway, 10 years later, this year, I ran into him at a random bookstore in a really small town no one has ever heard of. And there he was, perfect as ever, haha. We immediately went out to grab a few drinks and caught each other up on lost times. The awkwardness long gone. We finally talked about that night, 10 years later, lol, and we both agreed it was a mistake and it kind of ruined our friendship. I finally told him about the feelings I always have for him, and that somehow I never forgot about him. He was surprised, of course, and admitted he had always liked me too, and thought of me often, haha. We're really shy people. But now, we're both headed in different directions in life. As we hugged each other goodnight that night, we kind of understood that that would be our last meeting, and we'd never meet again. But I'm grateful for that chance meeting at that bookstore located in the middle of nowhere. And even though it's 10 years too late and I lost a good friend, friendship, and possibly a soul-binding healthy relationship, I'm glad I got the opportunity to at least tell him what and how I felt. Closure, I suppose. I wish him the very best in everything he does. In a way, he'll always have my heart.